Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. OpTic versus FaZe will remain a massive rivalry going into the upcoming season, but questions raised by Octane as to which team is paying it the most salaries. There's been thoughts over the last couple of years as to whether FaZe are paying the most, whether OpTic are paying the most. Octane has his perspective on how he sees things going, and also says that it's not necessarily needed for OpTic to have a coach in play, given the players on that roster. Very much enjoyed to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. First of all, wanted to mention a couple of things on Rostermania. We believe Accuracy is going to be joining the Minnesota Rocker. There was a really great episode here the Stocksman did with Accuracy, talking about all sorts of things in his career. I'll leave a link for you guys down below. I know he's trying to get to 10,000 views on this one, and they're getting close, so hopefully it does get there. But yeah, he asked him the big question, is he going to retire? And he says outright no, definitely not. And he did confirm though that he will look after his career to potentially look at coaching. He thinks he could be a very valuable coach, and he says that he probably will give it a go, but for now that's certainly not the plan for Accuracy, and he does intend to compete for some time longer. And just saying it as emphatically as he did sounds to me like he probably knows that he's got this offer on the table from presumably the Minnesota Rocker. So this is my current video description. I'm keeping this updated over, whenever things happen. So a couple of these things have been confirmed. Some of these we think we know, but we aren't really sure. But we're just running out of spots for some of these players. We're looking at the likes of Priestahh, Attach, Illy, Hook, Arcetes, like all of those guys. Temp is another one that aren't yet appearing on these teams. And there's other great players as well, like Nasty from the Ravens. I wished he got a better team than he is, but he might well be stuck on London again next year. We'll see about that. So this is just how things are currently going, and I just, wanted to run through a couple of those players, because Clay and Attach, I know we've discussed potentially them going to Los Angeles Grillers. Seattle Surge, to be honest, I would expect Illy to go there if Rambo is going to be the head coach, which we believe that he is, and maybe they'd bring Hukong as well. So there's plenty of options. But if this LA Thieves team is what we believe it is, or at least what Jacob Hell says it is, with Cammy and not aBeZy, then aBeZy's another big candidate as well to join one of these teams. So just to give you guys the quick rundown of what's going on, and we'll get more, I'm sure, on this over the coming days as well, and stay tuned for that one for sure. There also was, I think they were just joking around here really, but we can see Drazah warming up on Black Ops 3. I think he's turned the health here to 150 because the bots are taking longer to kill, I think, than they usually would. But, they were joking around about, oh, Illy, has your team been announced yet? Which kind of implies that he has some idea what's going on. Illy was being defensive, like, oh, what are you talking about, bro, this type of stuff. So, I don't really know if he's got anything locked down yet, but I'm sure there must be some discussions there in play. And it's the same story for the likes of Arcetes, right? The rumor is that Arcetes is gone from his contract on Los Angeles Grillers, and I get it. It's difficult for Arcetes, right? Because he kind of chose the bag, I would say, going to LA Grillers over... He probably had other options, leaving FaZe. There probably was other teams he could have gone to. He went to Grillers, they were giving him the most cash, they had this 3-year deal they were going to give him, but the reality is that if they want to end the contract, they seem to have found a way to do so. Maybe he's going to get paid out something for doing so, but it's not ideal for Arcetes, and as I say, they're probably going to look at either Clay or Attach or something like that, because it feels like that would make sense to me, but I'm not so sure, to be honest, what they're playing at the moment. Just quickly as well from MettalZ, and also talking about Zuma, because there's been some rumours that I think next Thursday maybe, there's something planned that Zuma's got in the works here for some sort of off-season entertainment. Now you guys remember when the starter, was it Vanguard launched, when they were doing these 1v1s, Warzone versus Call of Duty League or whatever, and they got methods to play up against those other guys, and it was pretty entertaining. We might get something similar. I think that might be what Zuma's planning, to do some sort of Warzone versus CDL Mark II type content. And then down the line, he's going to be, I think, intending to throw other throwback tournaments as Hitches with the 25k Black Ops 2 throwback that's going on in a little while. So, Zuma, Hitch, and all those boys, again, doing a fantastic job to keep things as entertaining as possible here in the off-season. So as we mentioned, right, not really sure where Illy's going to be going. Look at this ridiculous 1v3 though as well. So he gets one, pops the active camo, and then gets the third as well. Absolutely disgusting stuff. Kills Cellium for the final one. I do also wonder, back in the day, it's incredible to me that these specialists weren't G8. You know what I mean? Like, especially Heatwave. Heatwave was so cheese, and yet it was just like allowed, and you could use it without problems. And like back in the day when we used to play the game, like we did think it was cheese, but it was like it was kind of fair game, you know. Whereas nowadays the pros, like I'm sure some of the stuff in these games would be gone in a heartbeat if these games are played today, and maybe that's good or bad. But I mean, yeah, some of these specialists were cheesy. There's like Heatwave was a free kill. I can't believe that was actually allowed, to be honest, during the game's life cycle. Well, I can believe it was allowed based on the way that players used to think back then. But on today's player base, and you can say that's soft or whatever, there's no way that would not be GA'd by the pros of today, especially given like even snipers that aren't even very good at getting banned by the pros today, and all the attachments have to go. Like I can't imagine what things would have been like back then. And even Black Ops 2, like if we played Black Ops 2 again with the pros mindset of today, the M8 would be overpowered, like, you know, the B23R, that'd be gone. They'd have to be using like all the, you know, significantly less fun weapons. But one of the big discussions lately has been Drazah and his decision to go to FaZe rather than OpTic, especially when he made the point known, and you know, and Hex maybe wasn't so happy that he did make this point known, that OpTic had offered him more money, or at least that's what Drazah said. Drazah said that OpTic offered him more money, and he decided to go to FaZe anyway because he thinks that they're going to win more, and probably he thinks they're going to get more money back in the long run in terms of prize winnings than he would earn more if he joined OpTic in terms of salary. Now, Methods kind of said, oh, like Drazah's lying about something. We're not really sure what he might be lying about, but still, there's been some rumors. Is Drazah telling the truth when he says that OpTic offered him more money than FaZe? Is he not? But I think that might be right, just because we've heard over the last couple of years that FaZe have started to bring their salaries down to some degree. Zuma's made this point a couple of times that the FaZe guys have taken pay cuts over the last couple of seasons in order to ensure that they can still pay those guys and maintain them as the same team. Same's true with Thieves going into Modern Warfare 2. The team was told, hey, we're not going to have the budget to fund your salaries from the Vanguard season. You're going to have to take a bit of a pay cut. If you want to go as a team of 4 to another organization that can pay you what we're currently paying you, sure, go for it. But, you know, we hope you don't want to do that. And they didn't want to do that. They wanted to stay. They took the pay cut to ensure that they could stay together as a 4. And apparently, Simp, aBeZy, Cell, or whatever have done this a couple of times as the league has gone from a situation where everyone's paying ridiculous salaries in 2020 and MW19 when all the investment money comes in from all the VCs, to over the last couple of years having to take the foot off the gas a little bit. Organizations that are OpTic can probably just do that anyway because they've got all the content revenue, they have the most sponsorship revenue in the entire league, and their salaries, I don't imagine, have to really be reduced year on year as these other organizations do. So this is kind of why Octane's perspective seems to be, and he doesn't, as he says, know for sure, but the indication would be that OpTic probably pay better salaries than FaZe, and that's probably number 1, number 2 in the league.
More expensive roster, OpTic or FaZe? Probably OpTic would be my guess. I genuinely don't know numbers, chat. Like, I'm not memeing. I'm not like trying to cover anything up. I genuinely don't know their numbers. I'm just going off what I've known from the previous seasons, and my gut is telling me OpTic, but I don't know. I feel like betting on OpTic to have the highest paid salary is probably just always a good bet. Specifically, the players on the roster matter much more than who the coach is. Because like teams like OpTic, I don't think they'll really need a coach. I think they would probably succeed far more than with not without a coach, but with someone who's far less hands-on, like Damon would be, for example. Like if you think about the way that Dashy was talking about it in his like stream that he did, like it makes perfect sense. Because he just doesn't like to be criticized like individually about the, or not criticized, but doesn't like to be told how to play the game like that. So it makes sense.
So I'd say that Octane is probably right on the balance of probabilities that OpTic have likely the more expensive roster than FaZe. I do wonder as well whether there's anything else that comes into the... We don't really know what salaries the OpTic guys get. We've always theorized that Scump would have been on like 750, 800, and, you know, Shotzzy and these guys are like... I mean, the rumor with HyDra was it was like 500. And I think the talking point around Simp and aBeZy a few years ago was there on like 400, 500. 200, something like that on the upper echelon of the players in the league. And the average of the league has been, I think it was probably like 180 at some point. I reckon now it's more like 120, 140. I don't really know. But there's been talks about that Thieves are still paying like average salaries. They're not paying the minimum. So, you know, maybe 120, something like that. In that ballpark anyway, is probably what Thieves are paying today. Whereas OpTic and FaZe are paying more than that. We can be pretty sure of that. But then you've also got the content side of the arrangement as well. When, for example, Scump back in the day, when he was on, you know, when he was on OpTic in, let's say, or Huntsman, let's say 2020, when the salary cap was a thing, before they realized that actually the salary cap is illegal by California state law, because in order to enforce a salary cap from the league's perspective, there has to be a counterparty, i.e. some sort of players union for them to negotiate with, and so eventually they had to kind of drop this whole salary cap. But it was, I think, about $1.5 million across the full team and the coaching staff. So you could pay your players roughly like 300k each, and that would have been okay. Now, the rumor was at the time that Scump was getting paid his CDL salary, but then he was also getting paid some sort of content creator salary on top of that, that would top him up to what he was actually meant to be earning. So there could still be some arrangements like that in play here, where the players on OpTic today get a straight up salary for their actual contract to be a player and play COD at a high level, and then they also get some sort of content creator money, and then also they stream, and they do very well with OpTic. So this is why, you know, Pred, I'm sure he got the Supermax anyway in terms of his actual contract with OpTic, but I'm also sure that he's getting the absolute bag from, you know, streaming and content and all those other developments. So, you know, that's why, as MettalZ said a while ago, you don't turn down the OpTic offer, because they give you more money and you get way more money on the back end because of what it's going to do for your brand. But different players have different perceptions. Pred will go for OpTic 100 times out of 100. Drazah will go for FaZe 100 times out of 100. That's the way they look at things. And it's good that there is a difference of opinion on this one, but I think that Octane's probably right. The other thing that I did want to talk about, though, is his thoughts on the coaching situation, and I thought it was just such a nice clip, because Octane's sitting there, and I know that it was easy to snipe in Cold War, but man, he was just absolutely cooking kids on standoff, while just like he wasn't even focused on killing. Like if I was hitting shots like that, I'd be buzzing, and Octane just doing it in the background while he's like full focused on talking through his sentence and analyzing what he's like. I thought it was amazing, to be honest, actually, just to watch Octane at work. But he was talking about how, and this is a common theme that comes up every so often, that back in the OpTic Dynasty days, right, when it was Scump and Crim and Foreman and Karma, they didn't have a coach. Many teams, to be fair, back then didn't have a coach. It wasn't really done. They would just manage things themselves. And in fairness, the type of players they had, especially the likes of Crim6, and of course Karma was on the team at the time as a player, not as a coach as he is seemingly today for OpTic, but it wasn't really necessary back then. And at times, coaches could potentially get in the way, and if the players don't have full respect for the coaches, it probably can be a detriment at times to the success of the team. But this is why Karma's a great coach, because nobody in the professional scene doesn't have respect for the through time, right? So I think this is why Karma can add value, should add value. Whether it's necessary for the success of OpTic, that is another question entirely. And just before we close out, I did want to mention this, because there was some discussion last night around which player in all of esports has the best gamer tag. And to be fair, Karma is actually pretty good, I think. There were a few talks on this. Dashy said that Simple is a very nice one, right? The one in the name, number one in the game, all this stuff. Very nice. My favorite, I think, and I know that Kenny gave his thoughts on this because he's a big League of Legends fan, and he said that Faker or Showmaker is definitely up there. One of my favorites ever has got to be coldzera from Counter-Strike. Like, that name is just so clean, and it works so well if you shorten it to Cold, and I don't know, I just think that name was so fire. When he was good as well, like when coldzera was like the best player in the world, that was just fantastic stuff. So, and in the Call of Duty world, I've got to give some credit to my boy Nameless, I'm not going to lie. I think Nameless is a fire gamer tag that he's had for years. So very much enjoyed your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time.